was a question on the Facebook page about hammer size and your hand getting sore when hammering. And so I said I would do a little demonstration or talk about sizing a hammer and things like that. So first thing I want to show is the handles of my hammers. Hopefully you can see they're not rounded. You can see how there's flats have been I've used a hasp and flattened them out, especially on the top quarters. What that allows you to do a couple things. One, it gives you a nice place to put your thumb on. You're going to hear people tell you not to do that, but it increases your accuracy significantly. The other thing is when I want to hammer, maybe using the corner of my hammer edge to create some kind of ridge in the metal, I have a flat surface that I can turn my hammer, quarter of a turn, and now my thumb is resting on this flat part right here. Okay, and so my hand always stays the same, no matter where it is, and it's not going to tend to slide, and it's an index point for me to know the angle my hammer is at. The other thing about sizing hammer handles, because this is a big hammer, this is a 5-pound, they all started looking like this one. As you can see, it's nice and round. Okay, this is my smallest one. Well, smallest of my cross beams. So this one here, rule of thumb for sizing a hammer. See this gap right here between my fingers? So when I grip that, there's just barely a tiny little gap right there. Okay? Even when I wrap my thumb around, there's just the tiniest little gap right there. My fingers almost touch this part of my thumb, but not quite. And that's the correct size for a hammer handle. Any bigger, and you're going to be gripping it because it's too big, and you're going to be having to squeeze tight to hang on to the hammer. If it's too small, your fingers will be touching your hand and hitting your hand, and you won't be able to get a good grip on the hammer. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb. I'm sure it's a little different for everybody, but that's a good rule of thumb as far as seeing what your hammer handles are sized at. Now, as far as hammering technique, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. One, you don't want a lot of this swinging motion. I'm going to try to get it in the camera view as best I can. Okay? What you actually want to do, because this takes wrist and forearm. Okay, a lot of wrist and forearm, a little bit of bicep. But those aren't the strongest muscles in your body, in your arm and chest. So what you want to do is more raise the hammer and let the hammer fall. Okay, let the hammer do the work for you. So I'm just going to I'm going to try to do this a bit of an angle, kind of awkward here, but I'm trying to get a good angle so that you can see the difference. Okay, so this would be doing it incorrectly. Okay, see that? That's all arm, and there's a real swinging motion, and my wrist bends a lot. Now, when I forge, now I'm doing some heavy stuff, we'll say, because I've got a large hammer. What I do is I simply raise it. Okay, so I raise it, and it's very slight turn, but I'm actually raising and dropping. As opposed to, don't know if that shows the difference really well, but really you want to raise it and just let it fall. Raise it, let it fall, right? Using proper hammer technique and a properly sized hammer allows you to use a large hammer like this without a lot of fatigue. That's I believe 5 pounds. This is same thing, but it's my 2-pound hammer. So this is my general forging hammer. But once you get used to moving material with a 5-pound hammer, it feels very light, and you can do a lot of detail work with even a 2-pound hammer. This will move a lot of material very fast, and it's what I prefer to use for drawing out and anything where I need to move material. The heavier the hammer, the more the material is going to move. A lighter hammer will shape the material without moving it. So for example, I would use a light hammer. I would use a very light hammer when bending things over the horn. I don't want to flatten my material out. I just want to shape it around the horn of the anvil, or in a jig in the vise, for example. And so I'll use a lighter hammer because I don't want to squash my material. I simply want to bend it or move it. I hope that answers the questions and clears up any details and gives you a bit of an idea of proper hammer technique.